What's up, everyone? Welcome back. It is officially January, a new year, 2025. It's just mind blowing that it's already 2025, and we have a lot to cover. Let's jump right into it. First off, how are you doing? I haven't seen you in so long. I haven't had a podcast with you in a while. How has everything been going with you?
Everything's been good. I know we've had a little hiatus over the winter months. We both were back home for our winter breaks as we are in college, but we're back. It's been officially 1 year of 718 Sports. We started this last January at the same time, so we're freaking back, better than ever. How are you, Miles?
I'm doing great. It's been an exciting few weeks to watch sports. It's been great to be back here at school. A little chilly outside here. We're in my school in central Massachusetts. It's just a tad bit colder than I'd hoped, but that gives us more opportunity to stay in, get cozy, talk 718 sports with my boy Isaiah. But let's jump right into it. The Super Bowl is officially set with the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs once again rematching for the second time in 3 years. So this obviously is not a Super Bowl that a lot of NFL fans wanted, especially considering the options that we had going into the playoffs. I thought it would have been really cool to see the Commanders finally win a championship. I thought it'd be really cool to see the Detroit Lions win a championship. I even thought it would be pretty cool to see Buffalo win the championship. I think that's the big one too that I think broke my heart the most. But specifically on the AFC side, I've said this about the Chiefs, and you know, it's something that's true and near and dear to my heart. The Chiefs are still a good team. They still win Super Bowls. They still win good games. Everyone is making this dilemma that Kansas City somehow didn't earn their way to the Super Bowl because of ref ball, because of Taylor Swift, because of all the conspiracy, and because of all of that stuff. And that's just false. They just know how to win games. And their offense hadn't even scored 30 points ever in the regular season this season. So the fact that they were only able to score below 30 points with Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, DeAndre Hopkins, all those players, and still find their way to a 15-2 record, the number one seed in the NFL, and the AFC champion, it's pretty outstanding. And I think that, this team going for the three-peat is going to be super exciting. It's going to be super, it's never been done before. This is something that has never been done before. And we are witnessing greatness ultimately by the Kansas City Chiefs. And
Yeah, I have to agree with you. This wasn't the outcome that most fans did want. Most fans wanted the Bills, the Ravens, or the Lions, anyone else besides another Eagles, Chiefs, Super Bowl. But it's probably the two best teams in the NFL. The Lions were very good, but did not look good against the Commanders, and the Commanders got waxed by the Eagles. So that's just how the cookies crumble. But I think you make a very good point. The Chiefs they do know how to win games. They have the experience, and I think as an NFL fan, I'm not excited for this Chiefs Super Bowl. I'm only watching because it's the Super Bowl, but the Chiefs do know how to win games. And so do the Eagles. Both teams pretty much fully healthy. It's going to be a really good matchup. I think this could be the end of the Chiefs dynasty, depending on how this game goes. Travis Kelce might want to retire. Chris Jones might want to switch up. So this could be the end of the Chiefs dynasty, which would make a lot of people happy. But the Eagles look really good. I think the Eagles are very strong. Saquon looks better than ever. Jalen Hurts is an amazing quarterback. They have so many weapons. It's going to be a very interesting game.
yeah, absolutely. And I think that there's going to be a lot of interesting chatter about the Eagles, and there already has been, especially considering the whole Saquon Barkley being let go by the New York Giants franchise. And as a Giants fan myself, as you can see in the background, not the easiest Super Bowl to watch. Again, seeing your former superstar go to the Super Bowl with your rival team, not the easiest. But I got to admit, the Eagles' offense is just unbelievable. The fact that they almost dropped 60 points on a Commanders defense is pretty intense and pretty insane. Saquon is lights out. AJ Brown is still lights out. Jalen Hurts, lights out. All these guys are just very locked in, very focused, very driven. And this is a scary, scary team that I think is different in so than it was 2 years ago when they went to the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 57. I think that in many cases, they've gotten stronger with an actual running back, one of the most generational running backs of all time, and certainly this century is behind Jalen Hurts all the time and having explosive plays and making plays happen. So I think that's been a big addition. Sure, you lose Jason Kelsey, but I mean that front five is still pretty strong. Their receivers are unbelievable, and they have a lot to go right for them in this game. And Kansas City, is playing a very different Eagles team that they faced a few years ago.
Yeah, to me, the way I look at it is the Eagles win the Super Bowl maybe what two? It was 2, 3 years ago. Was it last
Two
year?
years ago. 2 years
2 years
ago.
ago, yeah. But the Eagles won in what 2019. So none of these guys have won a Super Bowl on this current. I believe none of them have won the current team. But all they heard about was that Nick Foles, Carson Wentz run in the playoffs. They were so close to beating the Chiefs and they couldn't. So these guys really want it. And to face the Chiefs, I think it's very personal for these guys. I mean, AJ Brown, he's been there for what 2 years, but he's been feeling it. Devontae Smith's been there for a little bit now. Jalen Hurts been there for a little bit. These guys really, really want it. And a guy like Saquon who came over to the Eagles to win, these guys really want to win it and they want to start their new dynasty. But looking ahead now, Miles, who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl?
Great question. Now, who do I think is going to win the Super Bowl is very different than who I think I'm rooting for in the Super Bowl. First and foremost, I'm rooting for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I know that's a controversial statement because, oh, the Chiefs, ref ball, Taylor Swift, all that. At the end of the day, I'm a Giants fan. I cannot watch the Philadelphia Eagles win a Super Bowl. And honestly, even if they were playing another team in the NFC, if they were playing the Commanders, honestly, I'd root for the Chiefs as well because I want to see a three-peat. It's never been done before. It's something super cool. It'd be something really cool to live out. And, I want to see Mahomes chase that greatness. He's chasing Brady at this point for the GOAT. Like, no doubt in my mind. He's outpacing Brady for the GOAT right now. And it's pretty remarkable to see that he could three-peat, and lose a Super Bowl. They lost a Super Bowl in there, but 4 Super Bowl appearances in, 5, 7 years is pretty remarkable, pretty intense, pretty amazing. And Kansas City, you know, three-peating would be super cool. Now, I think the Eagles are going to win it, and that's just because I'm a cursed Giants fan, but also more so that I think the addition of Saquon Barkley is really going to help them, and they have a lot of momentum, and their offense is so explosive. And honestly, this is going to sound a little controversial, but Kansas City, yeah, they've been winning games, but they've also had a lot of luck in their games, especially in that Buffalo game. They had a few calls go the wrong way, and they're still a lethal offense, still a lethal team. But Philadelphia is a team that will make you pay for your mistakes. Don't get me wrong with that. Philadelphia will score on every drive. They will take you in the end zone. They will rip your heart out over and over and over and again. The game was over in the fourth quarter against the Commanders. They kept still piling it on, and excuse me, they just pile it on you, and they just don't know when to stop. And their offense is just too good. Their defense is still incredibly strong, and I think Philadelphia is ultimately going to walk away with their second Lombardi Trophy in 10 years.
I I mean, I'm just gonna say I have a feeling for the Eagles. I really do hate the Chiefs, but I think the Eagles just want it more. This Eagles team is on paper better than Kansas City. Kansas City has more experience. I think they might have better leadership in terms of they have a guy like Patrick Mahomes who says chasing greatness. They have a bunch of Hall of Famers on that team, but I think the Eagles just want it more. I think the Chiefs' road wasn't hard. They did have to play. It was hard. They had to play Buffalo. They had to play these teams, but the Eagles faced a real like guys can say that you would say the Eagles had an easier route facing the Commanders versus the Bills, but the Commanders beat a really good Lions team, so that could have been even
Not only,
more
not only
competition.
that, but like the Commanders, have an amazing offense, in my opinion. Jaden Daniels is a rookie sensation. They were driving a lot of momentum. They were winning important games, and they went in there and they got crushed.
Yeah,
So
and they're an in season they're division rivals, so they played them 3 times this year. So I mean, I think the Eagles are going to find a way to win it. The Eagles, I would love an Eagles championship again. The city of Philadelphia, Phillies fans and Eagles fans and Sixers fans, not my favorite, but they really do come around for the team. I mean, love them more than Chiefs fans. So I think the Eagles will pull it out and they are going to get another Super Bowl victory.
absolutely, I think it's finally something we agree on, which is just pretty remarkable. But yeah, I think Philadelphia is going to walk away with this. I think it's going to be a really close game. I don't think this is going to be, a Super Bowl that's going to be a blowout or Philadelphia
Mhm.
is going to walk away with it. It's going to be a game-winning drive, game-winning field goal type thing. I mean, and this is going to be kind of crazy to say, but the Super Bowls always come down to the end, I find. Especially like the past year. I mean, last year it came down to the final play of the Super Bowl. If they don't make that catch, the 49ers are Super Bowl champions. If they don't run the clock down the way that they did, Super Bowl champions. So, you know, it's pretty remarkable how close these games can get. They can go to overtime now. They always come down to the wire. And Philadelphia, they don't make a lot of mistakes. Their offense is punishing. Kansas City has felt like I feel like they've been getting lucky with a lot of their wins. Now, some of them are rightfully so earned wins, but like some of them, like the Broncos, when they beat the Broncos at home
Yeah.
because of a blocked field goal, like lucky win. Like most 99 out of 100 times, that doesn't happen, and that's a loss. So
Mhm.
the Eagles are not a team to let stuff like that happen. So again, we'll see what happens. But I think kind of want to take a step back here and look at some of the teams that didn't make the Super Bowl and like what they should do moving forward. And I think I really want to start with the Buffalo Bills. And Buffalo's been getting a lot of hate, it's been a lot of disappointments. But just remember, they lost a lot of key free agents this season. They were told that they weren't going to be as good. They didn't have enough money to, make a significant run this year, but they still did, and they made it as far as they possibly could. And literally came down to just a few plays away from the Super Bowl. And it breaks my heart because, you know, Bills fans have endeavored a lot, but it's one of those teams and one of those quote unquote rivalries where it's completely one sided at this point. We've been hyping this up as a rivalry for a long time. First time, okay, sure, it's going to be the future. Second time, I'm like, wow, really close. Buffalo could do it. That was the 7-second game. And then third time, KC beats Buffalo in Buffalo. And now it's the fourth time, once again, in Kansas City. So it's one of those rivalries where it's completely one sided. And the equivalents to it, in my opinion, are like Rockets Warriors in the 2010s, and then Yankees Astros also in the 2010s, where it's just been one side dominating the whole time. And while the other side has made close runs and good attempts, it's always going to go one way. And even if the Bills play the Chiefs next year, the Chiefs are going to win. It's just like
I think
always
yeah,
going to happen.
that was a phenomenal. I think that was an amazing comparison. I think that was a perfect spot on like Rockets Warriors in the 2010s. Perfect comparison. Rockets are always so close, but Warriors pull it out. Um, and to go back to what you're saying, like we did not think that the Bills were going to be a 13-14. We had them at what 9-8, 9-7, like something like that. Like we did not think they were going to do that good.
Mm-hmm.
So it's disappointing to me. I saw Micah Hyde retired yesterday. It's really disappointing to me to see like I'm a big Josh Allen guy. The 3-star thing, like he didn't have any D1 looks. Like his story just it resonated a lot with me. And he's fought really hard to get in this league. Really saw not that's really bad rookie in for the second year, but has really turned it around. And to see that they're losing like Tre'Davious White's gone, Diggs is gone, Micah Hyde's as time goes by, they keep losing guys. I mean, they figured out a way to put it together this year, 13-4, as I said, but as time goes on, they're going to keep losing guys. Josh Allen's going to keep getting older. He hasn't won an MVP yet, but he's always been up there. But as guys get older, like it's harder to compete, and the Chiefs have just outmatched them every time. I mean, I think as we can talk about, like they've played multiple times the last couple of years, but to me, the thing that I thought when the game was over was when Josh Allen fumbled that ball in the I believe it was second quarter, when he just was looking up and just dropped the snap. He's too nervous. Like it wasn't a Josh Allen thing I'm used to seeing, and to play like your rival, a team that if you've what beat 3 other times during the Super Bowl, like to have that opportunity and to be nervous is just can't have that. And as the Chiefs dynasty might be over. And then I'd be more honestly, Ravens haven't gotten to the championship yet to face the Chiefs, but the Ravens are a lot younger. Lamar's a lot younger. Derrick Henry's older, but the team is a lot younger and a lot more. I think they're scared. The Ravens are scarier on paper than both those teams. That's just the
Yeah.
facts. The Ravens 12-5, but on
And the
paper
Ravens,
look way
and yeah,
scarier.
sure. Like I already hear the criticism from that thing of like, well, Buffalo beat Baltimore twice in the playoffs the past few years, but the difference is that Baltimore is trending up and Buffalo is trending down, ultimately, and their players and the way they play. And ultimately, I have a little more faith in the Ravens than the Bills at this point, either
Yeah.
going forward.
Ah,
I think
yeah.
Lamar is a better quarterback. I think that their future is way brighter. And, like, again, it was really close, right? They almost beat Buffalo. It was just one Mark Andrews drop away from tying that game. So, like, that we're not talking about a Buffalo Bills blowout here. We're talking about very close game.
One play changing the game. Yeah.
Exactly.
The way I
Let,
look
let's
at
say
it, it
let's
was
say
like,
Andrews
yeah,
makes that catch. Let's say Andrews makes that catch. It's 25-25. We got a minute left. Buffalo might win it, might not. We'll see. But they go to overtime. It's anyone's game. Ravens
mm,
win that game. The narrative is shifted completely. And that's, I
yeah,
think, the magic of sports and the magic of football is that everything just changes. Everything just changes, and everything is just so randomness. There's an element of
yeah,
randomness to it. Like Mark Andrews, 99 out of 100 times makes that catch. Most receivers, most tight ends as well, make that catch 99 out of 100 times. But he doesn't. And sometimes that just happens in sports.
yeah,
And, you know, even with this Bills Chiefs game, there's two games in particular where the Bills could have easily won that game, or at least made it real closer than it was. And that is the 7-second game, and that is also the next game in 2023 when Tyler Bass missed the game tying field goal. Like
yeah.
two games where two things could have happened differently, and we would not be talking about Kansas City and Buffalo the way we are right now.
Yeah. Finishing up with the Bills, I think you made a good point. Like the Ravens are one play away. The way I think about it is I'm not going to call the Bills season a fluke season because they had a very good season. They played very good football and they won 13 games. But I can't see them winning more than 13 games. Like I think with the talent they have right now, I can't see them and they're losing talent. Micah Hyde's got like guys are getting older. I can't see the ceiling going higher. But the Ravens ceiling is Super Bowl champions. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that's the Ravens ceiling. And they continue to like fight and fight. And that very good coach team, a lot of experience. And I mean, the Ravens are on a better path, but looking around at the rest of the AFC, I mean, in the AFC West, the Chargers and the Broncos made the playoffs, and both teams look really good, and they look really scary too. Chargers with the new coach, pretty much new team to make the playoffs and be 11-6 in their first year with the new coach. That's that's a little scary after trading away a lot of guys. I mean, there's rumors that Khalil Mack's gone, rumors that the Bosa brothers gone. So I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how their offseason plays out, but J.K. Dobbins had a great year. They're a scary team in the AFC West now, and they're trying to build up. They have a really high future and high ceiling. And then the Broncos, great season with Bo Nix. I mean, these teams are just improving. They're getting guys. They're drafting well, and the Bills just haven't been on the same level. Even the Bengals are maybe a couple guys off, a couple games. It's so many close losses to start the year. They're a couple games off from being in that conversation. So if you're the Bills, you got to get a guy like Khalil Mack. You have to get Khalil Mack. Like he's a guy at the top of my head, but you have to make this offseason really, really important to building around your team and creating a foundation for the next like 2, 3 years. Because in 2, 3 years, I doubt we have Travis Kelsey. Kareem Hunt, I don't think will be there. Like the Chiefs will be so different. Chris Jones will definitely not be there in 2 to 3 years. So you really have to look to the future and be like, when Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are done, like Patrick Mahomes will still be there, but when the Chiefs are done competing for Super Bowls, there's going to be a new team in the AFC, and it might be the Chargers, it might be the Bengals, maybe the Broncos, could be the Ravens, it could even be the Steelers. I doubt it. It could be the Steelers, or it could be the Bills,
Could be
and
the
then you have to
Jets.
really level that playing ground. The Jets have a little more time in them, but
No, but here's where I'm going to fight back on you a little bit on this is let's talk about the New England Patriots dynasty for a second, right? Let's talk about actually I have the book too. Great book. Can't believe I bought this as a Giants fan, but very interesting, very intelligent. The Patriots roster when they won that first Super Bowl was so completely different than the roster that they won Super Bowl 53 against the Rams, right? There was no Gronk, there was no Edelman, there was no Chris Hogan in the 2004 Super Bowl when they won it. There was none of that. It's going to be a similar kind of thing with Kansas City. So, and the only thing you need is the guy behind center, right? The only thing you need is, in the Patriots' case, it was Tom Brady. But in Kansas City's case, it's Patrick Mahomes, right? And remember that everyone sees the Patriots dynasty as some like, you know, bam, bam in your face, but they won a few Super Bowls. And then they kind of had a few years, but they didn't really win anything at all until 2014, 2015, when they beat the Seahawks in Super Bowl. It was like a weird, like 7 years of just no Super Bowl wins, at least. And again, like there might be that with Kansas City, I suspect. There might be a time where they're not going to win 6 Super Bowls in a row. Like that's just unheard of. That's just not going to happen. But you know, they could win 3-2. They've already won 2 in a row, and they win 3 in a row. Maybe they're not going to be as strong the next 2 or 3 years. They're going to still find some players. They're going to find some youth, but ultimately, the guy behind the offensive line is the most important part. And Kansas City has that guy, Patrick Mahomes, and ultimately they're going to try to win as much as they can with him. But it's not going to be long term, always going to Super Bowl, always winning the Super Bowl for them. There's going to be some bumps in the road to this dynasty that the Kansas City Chiefs have been forming. So when that happens, I think you're going to have something similar to a Ravens team winning a Super Bowl as for like comparison as like the Colts winning a Super Bowl, or Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos winning a Super Bowl, or an NFC team going out there and making a big run like the Giants did. So, a lot of things can change. A lot of things. It's not going to be this consistently good for Kansas City in a while, and that's why I think it makes them really like strong at this point. That's what makes them more impressive, is that they've won 2 Super Bowls in a row, and they've made the Super Bowl.
No, this is an historically amazing dynasty. Historically
absolutely
amazing. Arguably, like rivaling the greatest dynasty in all of sports, which is the Patriots. But
right,
when I think about, I'm a big Brady guy. Went to Michigan, huge Brady fan. I'm not a Pat Brady fan, but when I look at like the way Tom Brady plays versus the way Patrick Mahomes plays, Brady played for his like physique, not a super athletic guy when he came in the league. Just a really like high IQ, makes good passes, makes them when they count. Like will dime up. He's not going to run the ball. I think Mahomes is way more athletic, and I think that's going to impact that probably boosts him compared to Brady in terms of the way you look at like the guys around him. But I think Brady made it work with the guys around him, no matter who it was. Mahomes, I haven't seen that. Without Tyreek, there was definitely a drop off. Without Sammy Watkins, there was a drop off, and you could tell like the offense is slacked off, not as high in points. Like Travis Kelce has, not a huge Travis Kelce fan, but he's like not done as much. Like yes, they're still competing.
He's slowing down.
Yes, 100%. Yes, they're still competing, and that's partially because the defense guys like Chris Jones are getting in there. They're still dogs. Like these guys are dogs in the city, but you can definitely tell like they're slowing down. Tom Brady with them, it was always just consistent. That's what Tom Brady is, consistency. Every day was the same thing. You know what I mean? You're gonna get the same thing out of him, no matter who was playing center, who was in the slot. Like no matter who the tight end was, you're gonna get the same thing out of Tom Brady. He's gonna hit you in the same plays. If you're freaking, I don't even know, if you're Miles Capone instead of Gronk, you're gonna get this. If you're doing the tight end attack and you're cutting across the middle, he's gonna hit you the same way he hit Gronk. And I think that Patrick Mahomes isn't at that same level. His winning is probably on track to be better than Tom Brady's, but I can't see him competing at the same level that Tom Brady was with the same level of talent. That's what I just can't see. Like a guy like Lamar, I think this NFL now is so you need talent to win. I was very surprised by, I think Bo Nix being as good as he was, even Justin Herbert being as good as he was, is so impressive because of the lack of talent in those offensive rooms, which is just a shout to them of how good they're being, that they're making the guys around them better. Because as a quarterback, that has to be your job. And those are the best quarterbacks. The quarterbacks who can make the team around them even better with them there are the best teams. But actually, Josh Allen, amazing job of that. Josh Allen does an amazing job of that. Lamar Jackson, I think Lamar's skill set makes his team better versus him as a play, like his play. The fact that he can run and throw such a high level makes defenses worry about him running, and so they leave guys open. You know what I mean? Like, I think he needs talent around him to succeed, which is not a bad thing because everyone needs talent to win. But a player like Patrick Mahomes, I don't see the same level of like, yes, he can run, but he's not as fast as Lamar. Yes, he can throw, but his arms not good as Allen. He just does the right things at the right time, and he's good enough at everything where if the talent's not there, I can't see the level of competition being there.
Right. Yeah, I think we both have some interesting insights into the Kansas City Chiefs dynasty. I think I kind of liked where that conversation went. I think we're kind of talking about just Buffalo, and we're just talking about like the lasting impacts of dynasties in the National Football League. So
Well,
I'm
I
glad.
also, if we're doing this, I would love to talk
Yeah,
about the way the NFC is looking because
yeah,
looking
let's
at
do
the
that too.
standings, the NFC is, I think, way scarier than the AFC. I'm seeing Eagles are a playoff contender, Commanders are a playoff contender, Rams are a playoff contender, Seahawks are a playoff contender. I think the 49ers will be back as playoff contender, and then three out of the four teams in the NFC North. So that's 8 teams, and then Buccaneers, and I'll even say Falcons. So that's almost 10
Yeah,
teams competing like a 15 team or 16 team conference competing for playoff spots, which I think is phenomenal. The NFC is so tough right now. I think as a Lions fan, I was very hurt by the loss. Obviously, as an NFL fan, we were all hurt too. But as a Lions fan, I wasn't super excited. I think they're just in person actually. I
yeah,
wasn't super excited because I'm so used to the Lions losing that I can't get excited until they win the Super Bowl. But what I learned from this year is that the Lions are. I still think that they're a couple pieces away. They need Hutchinson back. They needed Alonso back. Montgomery being out definitely hurt. They're a few pieces away. I think that this season is going to be every season's a big season for the Lions, but this one is huge. They lose their OC and their DC to be head coaches, two amazing coordinators. Ben Johnson, I'm not a real big coordinator guy. I only started reading plays and like understanding defenses playing NCAA on my Xbox recently, but like seeing the offensive scheme that Ben Johnson was running with the Lions is just it's so unique and it was just a beautiful scheme like the shovel pass like from Amon Ra to Jameer Gibbs or like the fake stumble like out of this world thinking that works with the Lions team because they're so good and so well rounded. And then Aaron Glenn was just a demon on defense, like he made up for all the losses. So they're going to be amazing head coaches, but the Lions, the new coaches and new coordinators, they need maybe they're going to be what the 20 something pick, something like
yeah,
that. Like they need to make a they need they've been drafting very well recently. I was not a Jameer Gibbs fan when they drafted him. I'm on that train. I'm on the Sonic train all the way, but they need to make a really smart pick this year. I think you have to go back to defense, get another player on defense to just booster it because the depth wasn't totally there. They cut James Houston around week 9, so they really have to make a stand. And I mean, we can talk about it in a second. I'll stop talking and stop yapping, but the NFC North has only gotten better. We did not think the Vikings would be a 14-3 team. Packers were 11-6, and the Bears they're improving. Ben Johnson's the coach now, new coach. They could be another 10-win
right.
team. So the NFC North is only getting more strong. And I mean, it's always been a competition. It's rivalry games in conference are always huge, but for a team like the Lions who are so close but yet so far, they need to make. If the Lions don't win in the next 3 to 4 years, you lose that window for I don't know how long. The window's been like closed for a long time in my youth and in my family's youth and for a long since they've been originated, but you have a great window of young stars and young talent who want to be there. I think Jared Goff's leading this team very well, and the NFC is just getting so good. You have 3 to 4 years. If you don't win a Super Bowl, I don't know if you can do it again.
Yeah. And kind of looking at the NFC as well, I'm glad you brought up the NFC just because I feel like it wasn't getting a lot of love, but I absolutely agree with you that, the Lions, Vikings, Packers, really the entire NFC North is just going to be incredibly strong. I think the Bears finally have a competent head coach, in my opinion. They have a head coach that I think is going to do really well and succeed. And I mean, you got Caleb Williams. I mean, not the best year to start, but certainly not the worst. There is some flash there. Like, he's not a bad quarterback and he can do a lot. And I think under the mastermind of, you know, Johnson, he can do a lot. And, the Bears can make a little bit of a run here. I would not be shocked if they're a sneaky wildcard team right now. Would I label them as Super Bowl contenders right now? No. Would I label them as a sneaky team in 2 to 3 years? Absolutely. You know, and I think another team that I kind of want to bring up, and you might disagree with me on this, but I think the Carolina Panthers could be something in a year or two. Maybe not next year, but Bryce Young started playing better. They're starting to win some games. They're not completely in the dark anymore. There's only one team that I have absolutely no faith in, and that is my own, which is the New York Giants. But going up more to the going up to the East Coast, right? The Eagles still going to be contenders. Commanders, this year there was a little bit of a narrative of, oh, they only beat bad teams, but they completely dismissed that narrative
12
once
and
they got
5
into the
too.
playoffs.
So who
Like,
cares? They're 12 and 5.
yeah, it doesn't matter. Like they were like, oh yeah, they don't win and they beat the Bears on luck. It doesn't matter. They win football games and they beat the number one seed Lions, and they beat who did they beat? The Buccaneers. Beat the Buccaneers as well. Excuse me on that. I should know that. Buccaneers also going to be a good team as well. Baker Mayfield, they're going to be a solid 10-7 team again, in my opinion. But will it be a Super Bowl contender? Probably not. Will it make the playoffs? Sure. But then again, I think this, not the Seahawks, but the Cowboys are in an interesting spot too. Like, I think if Dak stays healthy and their new head coach kind of clicks, I think it could work. I think McCarthy just being let go was interesting. It wasn't necessarily like he didn't get fired. His contract just expired. They hired someone else, which I thought was very interesting and very odd, because I think, it's just like a kind way of saying that McCarthy is fired, so there's that. But I think if it all works, I think Dallas can be a contender as well,
Yeah.
as much as it pains me to say it.
Before we keep talking, I want to go back to what you said about the Panthers. I think that the Panthers are in a weird spot, as you said. Like, Bryce Young did play a lot better. They do have some guys. Chuba Hubbard's been really good. I can't see them making the playoffs in the next couple of years, as this division is this division is probably the weakest in football. 1 10-win team. I believe that's the only division I have 1 10-win team. Let me check. Nope. AFC East too, and AFC South. But it's just they have the weakest 10-win team. The Buccaneers. I'm so happy that Baker Mayfield has found a home where he can I think Ricky a good guy. He just does a lot off the field, but on the field, he's finally like accepting his role as who he is. He's not having the pressure of the number one overall pick. You have to be that franchise guy. He's become himself. He's played with the scheme. It's like Jerry Goff, when you're in the right scheme and the scheme just works, it's so satisfying to see. And your team loves you and you love the fans. Everything works out.
Yeah.
But this division is still very bad.
I want to challenge you on this though. Like, looking at the first half of the season, yes, Carolina did not play good football at all. But I want to name a few scores for you at the end of the season. They beat the Giants in overtime. They lost to the Chiefs by 3 points, which was just insane. They lost to the Buccaneers by 3 points in overtime. So there's 2 wins right there, 2 potential wins right there. It was an 8-point game against the Eagles, or excuse me, 6-point game against the Eagles. So, that's close. They beat the Arizona Cardinals in overtime, and they beat the Falcons to end the season. So, I mean, there are some wins here that are real, serious, and, I think looking at next season, they could easily win 7 games, even win 8 games.
Yeah, like that's not crazy, but to look at it again, like 8 games is not going to win you the division or the wild card, like a wild card spot. Like, to win the division, you have to win to win any division, you have to win 10. There's no team in the NFL that won their division with under 10 wins. So you have to be at minimum a 10-win team. And then the NFC, to not have 10 wins, it's super hard. All the wildcard teams in the NFC had 10 wins. And one of them was 12 and 5, one was 14 and 3, and one was 11 and 6. So they're winning more than 10 games to make the wild card. I see what you're saying. I can't see the Panthers. I think it's really between the Buccaneers and the Falcons right now. It's who's going to be better or worse to win that division. The Panthers are still off. I'll move up a little bit. And look at the NFC West. It's so hard to compete in the NFC right now. I think the 49ers had a really, really down year, and they really have to figure it out next year. But hypothetical world of looking in the future, 3 teams in the NFC West, and NFC North. NFC West can be playoff contenders.
Yeah.
Rams were 10-7, Seahawks were 10-7, 49ers were 6-11. But next year, different teams. Rams have a older quarterback. Stars, Cooper Kupp, are trying to figure out what's going on, but still a very good team, still very solid. Seahawks, Smith's getting older. They still have they have Noah Fant. They still have a lot of good guys. Kenneth Walker, when he's healthy, is a dog. Hate him at Michigan. As a Michigan fan, hate him. Dog on the NFL playing field, but they're a solid team. And the Niners have the guys. I saw a thing a couple days ago. It's like the Niners will regret not winning a championship with Brock Purdy on his rookie deal because he is worth so much more than they're paying him. And he's
Mm.
a franchise quarterback on any team in the NFL, and they're not winning. And I don't know, they have such an amazing they have Chase Young still. They have Nick Boat, like they have the team is too good to only win 6 games. So if they don't turn it around next year, I could see a complete overhaul of like GM and coaching change. But still 3 playoff teams. NFC East, you talked about 2 to 3 playoff teams. NFC North, 3 playoff teams. I can't like to win the NFC, you have to win 10 plus games. That's just how it is. And it is
That's
so
like the
hard.
bare bones. That's like,
Yes,
that's like, let's be a 7 seed. That's like, you
exactly.
need to, win more games than you lose. This is not
Mhm,
2020 anymore where you can sneak in through a crappy division. Like,
mhm,
even with the NFC South being as poor as it is, like, you got to win a lot of games. You
mhm,
got to have more wins than losses. And, you have to be serious contenders in your division, but also against other teams in the league.
mhm. And I mean, yeah, like as you just said, like the NFC South is still weak, but you still got to win 10 games from that division. It's really hard. It's going to be really hard for the NFC. I mean, back looking at the AFC, just jumping around, the lowest 10 win team was in the AFC South, a 10-7 team. Like
Yeah.
you have to win the